Hey guys, it's your boy Alec coming back to you with a new video. We got the Turbo GMC behind me, and I got a little project for today. We're going to be lowering the GMC just a little bit more. Damn! Currently the truck's set up at like about an inch in the front. It's all stock factory suspension, just the keys are turned down a little bit. And in the rear we have the blocks removed and a 2-inch drop shackle with 2 settings on it. So we have the 2-inch blocks removed and 1 inch on the drop shackle. Today I'd like to get us closer to the 2.4, so lowering the front about an inch, and then also putting the back at the highest setting so that the drop shackle actually achieves the 4 inches in the back. So stick with us. We're going to have some fun in this video, and we're going to see how it looks once we get it all adjusted and dropped down. Thank you guys all so much for watching the videos. Thanks for the support. And also thanks for, your interest in the truck. If you guys got any ideas for the truck or anything you want to see, any topics you want to cover, leave them down in the comments below. We're going to move on to lowering the Turbo GMC here. Currently, I just took some measurements. The front end is at 34 inches on the driver's side and 34.25 on the passenger side. So with the fuel tank in there, I got that thing dialed in pretty much exactly how it should be. You're always going to have the driver's side a little bit lower unless you compensate, and then your alignment's a little weird. But anyways, I got the jack out. I got the ratchet out, and because you can't adjust these torsion keys with it on the ground. So we're going to jack it up a little bit, and we are going to adjust the keys, and we're going to drive it into town, let it settle out, and see how it ends up sitting. So of course we're not at the shop. We are at home in the home garage, but I got a crappy little jack here that needed to be bled. So that was side quest number 1. We got our 18 millimeter on our ratchet, and it's just a little 3/8 ratchet. So I grabbed a cheater bar, which is actually a wind chime. Taylor, don't hate me for stealing your wind chime. But anyways, so we got that going on, and we are going to attack the driver's side first, and then we will move on to the passenger side next. Hard to say that it's moved at all because I just measured it, and it is like a 1/4 inch on each side right now. I ended up taking 4 turns out of each side. That's basically, the bolt is almost not touching the torsion bars. It's almost all the way out. I just wanted it in there just a little bit in case one side is higher than the other and we need to adjust one side. I didn't want to pull them out completely, and then I got to get the torsion bar tool out of my toolbox and all that stuff. So we're going to go take it for a drive. I got to get a couple things in town, and we will see what it ends up looking like after a couple miles or so. Stopped by the shop, and this thing has not moved nearly as much as I thought it was going to. So you can see what we did here. Driver's side went down about 3/4 of an inch or so, and this side came down about 1/4. So I pulled the bolt all the way out. I think I'm going to go do the driver's side, pull the driver's sides out as well, and go finish my drive into town, grab what I need to grab. I will report back in a little bit. Alrighty guys, it's your boy Alec coming back to you. I think we've already started this video, so we don't need any intro or anything like that, but we're still working on the Turbo GMC and lowering it. So if you're longtime subscribers, you probably remember that about a year ago, I put drop shackles on this truck to get the back end to sit a little bit better. We do not have blocks in the back, so there's about 2 inches that were pulled out there. And then we have the drop shackle currently in it. It's set at 1 inch. So we're going to set that at 2 inches today because it's an adjustable shackle. So we got the truck up on the lift. We're going to set the rear at 2 inches, and I actually ordered a set of lowering keys for it because we pulled the bolts all the way out of the keys, the stock keys, and it went down about 1/2 inch on each side. So that's not enough to get it as low as we want, I don't think. We're going to do the back first, and then if we got to mess with the front, I got the keys right here. GM Nerd, I got the specialty tool. I just keep it here. I bought it quite a while ago. They're pretty cheap on eBay. I think they're like 40 bucks or something. Got a set of keys for it to lower it if we end up needing these, which I think we will, because I measured the front this morning and we're about 33 and 3/4, 33.5 on the driver's side, and then in the back we are at 35. So if we pull an inch out of this and it settles, we're almost gonna look squatted. So I don't want it to look squatted. And so let's do the back first and figure out where we end up sitting on the ground after that. Totally did not remember doing this, but the back is already set at the highest setting. When I put this together, I must have thought I put it on the lower setting on like the 1 inch, and it's actually at the 2. It looks like if we want to drop this thing anymore, we need to flip the axle. Hey guys, coming back to you. So you might be like, whoa, we went from nice and sunny to Alec in a hat and sweatshirt. Yeah, we went from August to December here. And why we went that far is because we're still working on lowering the truck. And I had found the limitations of the back of this truck without doing a C-notch. So what we're gonna do today, and to finish out this video, we're going to flip the axle and finish up doing that. So the leaf springs are on top of the axle. So we're gonna put them underneath the axle. It's called a flip, right? And when you do a flip, you also generally have to do a C-notch because of the clearance between the axle and the frame, which I'll show you. So here we are underneath the truck, and the first thing that gets in the way is this guy. So this is where a factory bump stop would be, right? For if you had this truck and you were towing and hauling and that kind of fun stuff. So you'd have a bump stop here. So this is gonna be the first thing to go. We're gonna flip it. We're gonna see what our clearance is. And then sometime, because it's December, this truck is officially parked until we get nice weather. We are going to do a C-notch up in here sometime this winter. I've heard of some guys running a flip kit, a 2-4 drop, 4 inches in the back with the flip. And they put a real skinny, nice, thin bump stop up here, and they actually don't have to C-notch it. So we're gonna see potentially about doing that, but we're gonna flip it, and we're gonna go from there. So the first thing I wanna do, I wanna pull a drive shaft out of this thing and measure our pinion angle with it on the ground, just to confirm that we actually get a similar or the same pinion angle. You gotta measure on the flat part of here, so that's why a drive shaft has to come down. We'll set it down on the ground, check the pinion angle on the bench with some of the parts we're gonna be using. These are the cradles for the axle. We got our top plates and our leaf spring bolt, U-bolt plates. So we're gonna use this stuff, of course, one for each side. And let's get freaking wrenching on this thing. All right, so with the truck on the ground, we got basically 1/2 degree of pinion angle. So that's a good reference for when we flip it. Make sure it kind of lands somewhere close in there. We got the truck on the ground, of course, and we sagged the suspension out and that kind of thing. So 1/2 degree, we'll try and match that. So we just got the shocks pulled out of this thing. Side quest number 1, I wanted to set the axle on something because I don't have 2 of these screw jacks. So I got this table out from the corner, and it's like the shittiest table that I've never made. But anyways, it's a little wobbly. Needed to shore that up because the legs were super loose, so I took care of that. We're gonna set some jack stands on it and drop the axle onto that, which this will be nice to set tools on while we're working back here, I guess. Everything free, all the U-bolts are off. Bracket for the bottom, the axle saddle or whatever you wanna call it. You can see in here, we got this leaf spring free. And this side, unfortunately, we got the centering pin broken. So we're probably gonna have to fix that. But the axle is sketchily sitting on the table. And we got a little bit of room to play here to bring the truck up just a smidge so we can get these leaf springs out. We got both of the leaf packs out. Driver's side, of course, passenger side, which has the broken centering pin that we gotta fix. And I just grabbed the factory leaf spring hangers because, of course, we're not gonna run a giant drop shackle with a flip kit because that would get us like 6 or 7 inches of drop, and we don't want that. What else did I do under here? I got rid of the bump stop mounts off the frame, so we're gonna have to throw a little on that. And we're about ready to start going back together once we get those shackles swapped out and fix that centering pin. Got the centering pin figured out in the leaf spring pack. And also this 14 bolt came from a Vortec Max. So it has these brackets on here for wheel speed sensors, which we are not currently using. So we're gonna clip that. I cut the brackets off with a Sawzall. We gotta get rid of these guys with the deburring bit. So you can see both sides of that are done. And here's our leaf pack with the centering pin that I made. So we cleaned up yesterday and left it at trimming the saddles because they were too deep. These legs were too tall, so we didn't get into the bottom of the axle. So now we have trimmed those, as you can see, and I have also taken the paint off of the sides of these because we are going to have to weld them in. So we are able to get those up there. You can see our clean metal is kind of matching up. So eventually when we weld these in, now why we're not welding them in right now is because we need to set our pinion angle. So we need this adjustability to be able to set that angle. This side is done. Now we need to trim the legs on the other one, clean this up, and clean the bottom of the axle up on the driver's side. I wanted to show you guys how I'm getting pinion angle to be relatively close and just checking to make sure we have enough adjustability. So if you don't have one of these electronic guys, you really need to get one. But you can see we're at about 1 degree of pinion angle. We come over here to the top where the leaf spring used to sit. And you can see we got about 12 degrees of leaf spring angle. So when we come over here, stick that to the bottom of that guy and get up in here. We can get about 12 degrees of angle on the bottom as well. So that's just how I'm checking to verify stuff. Here's our upright that is too tall. It's about 14 millimeters too tall. So I just got this guy in a real calculated way of doing this, you know, very precise. We're just making a scratch like that. I'm gonna come back with a paint pen and mark that. We'll throw a little grease on it. And then I got everyone's favorite. Let me tell you what, putting leaf springs in by yourself, factory leaf springs, not freaking fun. Wow, that was a pain in the butt. We have it done. I think eventually I'm probably gonna have to throw a 1-inch lift shackle back here, but I use a factory one for now. We got both of them underneath. U-bolts are relatively tight, so we're gonna take this thing up in the air and we're gonna try to set pinion angle. We will see how that goes. Holy crap, you guys. This thing is freaking sitting on its clam and it looks awesome. Look at that. Oof. It's a little lower in the back than I wanted. I kind of wanted it closer to the front where we got that gap up there. But this just means we can run a little bit smaller tire and it still looks good. So we got pinion angle problems. We got to set that. But I just wanted to drop it down on the ground and say, holy freaking crap, does that look mean? You never realize how big of a difference it makes to freaking have a truck that's like low. But this is like, I don't know, pocket height right here. Wow, that thing is like, you got to bend over to get stuff in the back of this thing now. That is wild. Damn! Played with the U-bolts and I think we're finally getting somewhere. 87.2, which is 2.8 degrees of pinion angle. Everyone says strive for 3, -3 on the trans, +3, -3 on the trans, +3 on the axle.
Up 3, down 3, up 3, down 3, down 3 on the trans, up 3 on the axle.
So we got 2.8. We're real close. All the U-bolts are tight, pretty much perfect right where it is. And that kind of completes the back end until we weld that in, which we're not going to do today because I don't have the welder at the shop. But it's kind of a mission success, getting the back of the truck lowered down. Now, of course, I want to come back. We won't finish this episode just yet. I want to come back, get the front lowered down with it, and then, of course, put the drive shaft in, put it outside, and see how it looks. So let's get to that. Guys, we're back out here in the shop. Hopefully to finish this video, I got some parts here that I want to flip around and show you. We're still working on dropping the back end down, of course, and it's a little bit lower than what we were expecting, what we wanted. So here we go with some 1-inch lift shackles. Now the eBay ad advertised 1 to 1.5. So we're gonna see if it actually is 1 to 1.5 or if it's more like 2. Because I know a lot of these they all look the exact same, and some of them are like 1 and some are advertised as 2. So anyways, we're gonna get those thrown on. the back side of the black GMC. Hopefully it doesn't mess with our pinion angle a whole lot, and we get the height in the back that we wanted. So let's get those thrown in and see how it looks. Here we are with the shackles. So we got the lift shackle and the factory shackle. There's like an 1.5 inch and 5/8 difference between this part of the hole on this one, this part on that one. So we're gonna get these guys thrown in and see how she looks. Here we are, we were running into clearance issues. So we got the good old MAP gas torch out and the air hammer, and we're taking care of clearancing our leaf spring shackles here. So I'll show you this side. That lift shackle's running into the corner right there. And so we got it kind of marked out. We're gonna heat it up and push it in like the other side so that this shackle doesn't hit on the hanger. I think I'm all done. You can see from back here, we got her all beat in so that that bolt will clear. I'll show you it down on the ground here in a second, but you can see from in here, we massaged that out quite a bit. It needs a little bit of paint now, but we're using the MAP gas torch, get it pretty much red hot. But you can see right there, it's all beat in so that this bolt will clear. It shows you a good angle of it being pushed in. So there we are, got that done. Gonna throw some paint on it. And after some paint, lower it down, see how it looks. Check our pinion angle again because now we messed with it. We got everything clearanced in the back and we got the shackles working. So there is a little bit of a difference. I'm kind of surprised that it looks like it's only like maybe an inch. Definitely not close to 2 inches. So that is the shortest shackle we can fit in there. The rear axle with the flip kit is as high as it can go right now. It can go lower, but it is as high as it can go without changing like where the leaf spring hangers are and that kind of stuff. So unfortunately it is a tickle lower than I wanted, but the good thing is this is still a 30-inch tire. So when we put like a 28-inch, put a sticky tire on there, that's only gonna be 28 inches. It'll have a little bit more gap, which is good because we're gonna need it for when this thing squats down and you know, launches. So here's kind of what we're looking at in the front for a gap. So you can see we got probably about 3 inches up there, and we're probably working with about 1.5 inches here. Let me measure it real quick. Here's a better look at it right here. So you can see we got that gap in the front and that gap in the back. So yeah, we're working with about 3.5 or so, 3 3/8 in the back, or sorry, in the front. And in the back, we're working with right about 2, maybe 2 and a titch more. So we're definitely gonna have to bring the front down. So we're definitely gonna have to bring the front down to match the back. I'm kind of out of options for bringing the back end up anymore. We got the shortest shackle possible. And so with the shortest shackle possible and a flip kit, it is literally as high as it can go. We're gonna put a little bit smaller tire in it eventually, so I think it'll be okay where it is. But we're definitely gonna have to bring the front end down to match the back. So we probably gotta pull about 1 inch out of the front. And the only thing left to do before we put this thing outside and call it a mission success is we are going to have to make a couple modifications to the saddles on the axle just to get the pinion angle right. We are pretty much maxed out on the saddles right now. They're touching the front of the axle perches, which I'll show you, but we need to grind some of that down just to get a little bit more adjustability. We have 4 degrees of pinion angle right now. Ideally, we want to be somewhere between 2 and 3. 3 at the most, 2 is kind of ideal. So we're at 4 point, I think my gauge is reading 4.1, which take that with a grain of salt. It's not super accurate, but 4 degrees is quite a bit more than 2, 2.5, 3. So we're gonna have to pull it all back apart and modify it one more time, and then we can get our pinion angle correct, and we will be all set, put the drive shaft back in and roll this thing outside and check it out. So here's our problem with our pinion angle. We have 4.1 degrees of upwards pinion angle. So we need to bring the differential clockwise or down to the ground. But to do that, we have to trim this portion of the saddle, because you can see that our stock perch is touching the saddle and it is already jammed into there as hard as it can be. So we need to clearance this a little bit. And then also we're gonna have to clearance the upright of the saddle up in here just a little bit. So you can see both sides need clearancing on the passenger side, and over on the driver's side, they're also touching as well. So you can see contrary, or the exact opposite, the gap that we're working with here. And that is why we are going to end up welding this down here so that we lock in our pinion angle. So we got to just loosen the U-bolts one more time, put the jack underneath the center of the axle, loosen the U-bolts, pull the saddles out, trim them, a little flap wheel action maybe, and then we should be able to get the pinion angle exactly where we're supposed to have it. Alrighty guys, here we are with the trucks in the garage. We are tight. Got to do an oil change on the F-150, our first oil change ever, and we're out here to do trim the saddles on this guy. So we're gonna take care of the oil change real quick, and then we can get that out here and get working. We just trimmed up the saddles underneath here, gave them a bunch more clearance, cut them down probably 1/8 of an inch or a little more. So we got our U-bolts loose, and I have a crap ton of downward. You can see we got adjustability right now with the axle moving, something like that. So we got a bunch of downward pinion angle, and I'm about to turn this thing on and drop it down on the ground and try and get set in. Alrighty guys, we just got our pinion angle dialed in. So here you can see we got our angle gauge. I have all the U-bolts about 50 foot-pounds tight, maybe a little bit less. And you can see right here, I'm gonna move the suspension up and down. So as the truck goes up, we're gonna get a little less pinion angle, but not by much. We're at like 2.8 degrees when the truck goes up. And I'll hang off it a little bit here. Make it come down. We're at like 3.05, 3.1. So we're right on the money, 3 degrees of pinion angle. We got to weld these things in place, and that's about it for setting this thing up and getting it lowered. That wasn't too bad. I think it took me about 45 minutes to do all that. So I think we're looking pretty good. Here we are. There's the truck all sitting down in the back. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lift it up. We are going to take a couple turns out of the torsion keys and put the drive shaft back in it. But there she is. Looks freaking good. Ooh. Ooh. All right, guys, here we are outside. Of course, a little loud because, you know, race truck stuff, but dang, look at that thing. All laid out. I actually got to like sit down and bend over to get in it, which is pretty wild. Never had to do that before. Over to this side. I noticed this tire is towed out a little bit more than the other side. The front tire there. Damn, boys. That thing looks good. Alrighty guys, well, there you have it. We rolled it outside and you got a good look at it. Aside from welding and locking in that pinion angle, we are done with this episode. So I'm gonna weld it off camera. I gotta get the welder over here to the shop. The front end's still a tickle high. I took 2 turns out of the torsion bars, drove it around the parking lot a little bit, and it came down a little bit. So we're gonna have to play with that, just a tickle. But you know, this was really fun. Flip kits are not, this is the first one I've ever done in my entire life, and on any vehicle. Every vehicle I've just lowered enough or lowered it as far as I can without a flip. So it's my first vehicle with a flip. I'm ecstatic about it. I think it looks super good. Yeah, it's gonna be a little, you know, we got the low life, we're low lives now, but there's gonna be some times it's gonna be a pain in the butt. It is what it is. It looks freaking killer. And when we eventually put a smaller tire on it, you know, something real sticky, you go fast, it's gonna look a little bit more proportionate. So I appreciate you guys watching, and make sure you leave a like because it really helps out the channel. And, you know, subscribe if you haven't. Till I see you next time. Peace.